More than 2,500 years ago, a relatively small kingdom rose from the Iranian plateau and began defeating some of the most powerful civilizations of the ancient world. At the center of this transformation stood one man, Cyrus the Great. He would build an empire stretching across enormous territories and change the history of the ancient world forever. In the 6th century BC, Persia was not yet the superpower we know from history. It was a relatively small kingdom in southwestern Iran, surrounded by much larger powers. But everything was about to change. A young Persian ruler named Cyrus emerged with extraordinary ambition. His goal was no longer simply to rule Persia. He wanted to build something much larger. Much of Cyrus's early life is surrounded by legend. Ancient writers tell dramatic stories about his childhood and rise to power, but historians cannot verify every detail. What is clear is that Cyrus became ruler of the Persian kingdom around the middle of the 6th century BC. And his first great challenge was the powerful Median Empire. The Medes were one of the dominant powers of the region. But Cyrus refused to remain under Median control. He rebelled against King Astyages. After a conflict whose details remain debated, Cyrus emerged victorious. The Median territories came under his control, and suddenly, Persia was no longer a minor kingdom. It was becoming an empire. Cyrus now turned west toward Lydia, one of the richest kingdoms in the ancient world. Its king, Croesus, was legendary for his wealth. But wealth could not stop the Persian advance. Cyrus defeated the Lydian forces and brought Anatolian territories under Persian influence. Another powerful kingdom had fallen, and Cyrus's empire continued to grow. But Cyrus understood something that many conquerors failed to understand. Winning a battle is one thing. Keeping an empire together is another. Instead of simply destroying conquered societies, Cyrus often worked through existing institutions and local elites. Different peoples could retain elements of their traditions and religions. Cyrus wasn't simply collecting territory. He was learning how to govern diversity. Then Cyrus turned his attention toward one of the greatest cities on earth, Babylon. With enormous walls, magnificent temples, palaces, and immense wealth, Babylon was more than a city. It was a symbol of power, and Cyrus wanted it. In 539 BC, Cyrus launched his campaign against Babylon. Persian forces defeated the Babylonian army at the Battle of Opis. Then came the final stage. Babylon fell to Cyrus. But what happened next was unusual. Rather than presenting himself simply as a foreign conqueror, Cyrus portrayed himself as a legitimate ruler chosen to restore order. The conquest had become a political masterstroke. One of the most famous artifacts connected with Cyrus is the Cyrus Cylinder. Its inscription presents Cyrus as a legitimate Babylonian ruler and describes actions involving temples and religious communities. But there is an important warning. The cylinder was also royal propaganda. It was created to present Cyrus's rule in a favorable light. So, historians must separate historical evidence from later interpretations and modern myths. Was Cyrus really different? This is where the story becomes fascinating. Cyrus developed a reputation as a ruler who allowed conquered populations to preserve aspects of their religions and traditions. But we shouldn't turn him into a modern humanitarian. He was still an ancient monarch. His empire was created through military conquest. People died. Kingdoms were defeated. Political power was taken. Yet his approach to governing appears to have been highly pragmatic. Imagine trying to control millions of people across thousands of kilometers. You cannot place soldiers in every city. You cannot personally govern every population. You need cooperation. You need local administrators. You need functioning economies. And above all, you need conquered peoples to accept the new political order. Cyrus appears to have understood this. He didn't simply conquer kingdoms, he incorporated them. Under Cyrus, the Persian Empire became a vast multicultural realm. Persians, Medes, Lydians, Mesopotamians. and many other peoples found themselves under one imperial power. Different languages, different religions, different traditions, yet one empire. The foundations of what would become one of the ancient world's greatest empires had been laid. But Cyrus would not live long enough to see the empire reach its greatest size. Around 530 BC, he launched another campaign, this time toward the east. There, somewhere in Central Asia, Cyrus met his final battle. Ancient sources disagree about exactly how he died. One famous account claims that he was killed fighting the Massagetay. The precise circumstances remain uncertain, but one thing was certain: the great conqueror was dead. Cyrus was gone, but his empire survived. His successors, including Cambyses II and Darius the Great, expanded Persian power even further. The empire eventually stretched from Central Asia and the Indus region to Egypt and the Aegean world. But the foundations had been laid by Cyrus. So who was Cyrus the Great? A ruthless conqueror, a political genius, a tolerant ruler? The answer may be more complicated. Much of the historical record comes from sources written after his lifetime. Some contain propaganda, others contain legends. But even after separating myth from evidence, one extraordinary fact remains. Cyrus created a vast empire and developed a system of rule capable of managing enormous cultural diversity. More than 2,500 years later, the cities he conquered are ruins. His armies are long gone. His kingdom disappeared, but his name survived. Cyrus became one of the most famous rulers of the ancient world. His greatest achievement may not have been the number of kingdoms he conquered. It may have been his ability to transform conquest into an enduring political system. Cyrus the Great conquered kingdoms, but his true legacy was something far more difficult. He learned how to rule them. And that raises a question that still echoes through history. What makes a great conqueror, and what makes a great ruler? Cyrus's answer changed the ancient world forever. If you enjoyed this journey into the ancient world, subscribe to the channel for more stories about legendary rulers, forgotten civilizations, mysterious events, and the moments that changed history. Because the past is full of stories, and some are more incredible than fiction.